going to be doing an 1850 battle report today using ITC Scenario 1. Today's matchup will have 1850 points of Eldar going up against an 1850 point Cabal star list. So let's just kind of go over the list a little bit here. We have an Eldar CAD, Combined Arms Attachment, with a Farseer Skyrunner. He has the Spirit Stone, and he's with a squad of 4 jet bikes with scatter lasers. And we have an Altark with a laser lance and a Skyrunner. He's with another 4-man squad of scatter bikes. And we have another 4-man squad of scatter bikes here. And a Vol's Wraith support battery with D cannons back here. And then we're running 2 aspect host attachments. We have one with 3 5-man Warp Spider squads that are on Deep Strike Reserve. And then we have another one with 10 Dire Avengers right here. A squad of Fire Dragons and a Wave Serpent right there. And then 5 Dark Reapers right here. And that's 1850 points worth of Eldar. And on the other side of the table, we have the Cabal, which is the Cyclopia Cabal formation. It's everybody's been talking about for the past few weeks now. It's 5 sorcerers on bikes. One of them is equipped with the Black Mace. One is equipped with the Last Memory of Uranthos Relic. And they're with a squad of 12 Flesh Hounds from a Khorne Daemonkin CAD. There is a Juggerlord over there with Gore Drinker Relic. And there are 2 cultist squads, 2 8-man cultist squads. And then we have a Void Shield Generator with 3 projected Void Shields on it. And then allied in we have a Chaos Knight, Forge World Chaos Knight of Khorne. Not a whole lot of models in that list, but they can pack a hell of a punch. When we rolled Psychic Powers, basically the Cabal Star got everything they needed for powering up. They got Endurance, they got Invisibility, Hammerhand, Sanctuary, Warp Speed on the Mace guy. So pretty much all the powers they needed. They got Summoning to support, and Psychic Shriek, and of course the Last Memory gives one of them the Sunburst power, which is pretty good. So they got all their powers that they needed. Rolled to see who goes first, and Chaos won the roll, and Eldar did not seize. The Farseer has Invisibility, Mental Fortitude, and also Guide for his psychic powers. The mission is Emperor's Will is the primary, which there's an Emperor's Will objective back here for Eldar, and then back there on the other side of that ruin, in between the ruin and the Void Shield Generator there. Those are the Emperor's Will objectives. And then objective marker 2 is right here, or excuse me, 1 is right there, and then 2 is right there. And that is the look of it. So again, the Chaos gets to take first turn. We'll go ahead and roll up the Maelstrom objectives for them, and then we'll be back at the end of their movement phase. Alright, so here we are at the end of Chaos and movement phase on turn 1. Maelstrom objectives rolled were destroy an enemy unit and control objective marker number 2, which is over here. They moved up. They're 12 inches. These cultists just kind of shifted so they could grab a hold of that objective. The Knight moved up, still within Void Shield range, to get some shots off on probably those Dire Avengers in the ruin. And that is it for movement phase. So we're going to be back at the end of the psychic phase and just see how devastating the star can get here, and what kind of damage they can do in the psychic phase. So we'll be back at the end of the Chaos psychic phase. Alright, so we're back at the end of the psychic phase for Chaos and the Cabal. Got pretty much everything off that they needed to get off. They did get off Shroud of Deceit, taking over the Dark Reapers there. It was a tough choice to either go after that Wraith Knight, try to knock him on out, or go after the Warlord. Elected to go after the Warlord. Managed to get hits and a lot of wounds. Could not jink, of course, because it ignores jink. Killed one jet biker, and then the Farseer proceeded to tank a bunch of wounds with his 4-up invulnerable, because he was the next one in line, and he only took a single wound. So nothing happened there. Cast a bunch of buffs. Did not peril, surprisingly. But we got Endurance, Invisibility, Hammerhand, Sanctuary, Warp Speed on the guy with the mace, Shrouding, and Force Off. So they're super powered up right now, preparing for a good turn 2 charge. So that is it for Chaos Psychic phase. So we'll go into shooting phase. Really, only thing to shoot here is going to be the Knight shooting into the Dire Avengers over there, or the tank. So be back at the end of the shooting phase. So here we are at the end of the Cabal shooting phase. The Knight shot into the Dire Avengers over there, dropped a blast, a pipe plate on them, managed to kill one. Got 8 wounds. They went to ground for 3-up and only failed one save. So and then the Heavy Stubber didn't do anything. So that is the end of Chaos turn 1. So now we'll go to Eldar turn 1 and see if they can kind of respond here. See what they're going to try to do to maybe avoid that Cabal star there. So be back at the end of Eldar movement phase, turn 1. Okay, so here we are at the end of Eldar movement phase. So the Maelstrom objectives for them was to hold Maelstrom objective number 1 and to have a unit at least 12 inches within 12 inches of the enemy deployment zone. So right here, the Farseer and these jet bikes did not move because I want to stay in range of getting invisibility off the Wraith Knight, who just kind of jumped over here. Dark Reapers really didn't move. These guys here moving up the flank, 12 inches. Over here, the Wave Serpent moved up, dumped out the Fire Dragons, who this is their mission in this game, is to kill Super Heavy, so that's what they're going to try to do. The Dire Avengers obviously went to ground, couldn't do anything. The Vol's Wraith's just sitting here, of course. These jet bikes moved up 12, again along the edge of the flank here. And that was the end of Eldar movement. So basically trying to spread the field here and just minimize what the Cabal can actually touch this for turn 2. So we'll see what happens at the end of the Psychic phase. And then we'll go on to shooting for Eldar. So we'll just combine Psychic and shooting together and see how it goes. So be back at the end of the Eldar shooting phase. So end of Eldar turn 2. We just went ahead and there's no assaults to be made. Wraith Knight did get invisibility and guide successfully cast. Could not stop either one. The Dark Reapers shot into the Void Shield generator. Managed to knock down all 3 shields. The Wraith Knight then shot 2 D-cannon shots into the Imperial Knight, taking 2 hull points off. The Fire Dragons got a really bad run, even with the fleet. They only ran 2 inches. They couldn't get in melter range. Only managed to get 2 glances on the Knight, which he saved 1. So the Knight is down to 3 hull points. Both jet bike squads just booked it to the corners over here and here, and then this jet bike squad with the Farseer just scooted over here, and that is it for the end of Eldar turn 1. So it looks like they'll probably get one of the Maelstrom points for having a unit within 12 inches of the deployment zone. So that is it for Eldar turn 1. So we'll be back with Chaos turn 2. Okay, so here we are at the end of Chaos movement phase on turn 1, or excuse me, turn 2. The second Cultist squad did not come in. The Knight just kind of shifted around this way. The Lord with Gore Drinker broke off. Try and handle them. The Cabal just moved up, getting ready to engage that Wraith Knight. And that was pretty much it for movement. Maelstrom objectives were secure objective 1, which is right there, kind of behind that corner there, and destroy an enemy unit. So that is the end of movement phase for the Cabal. So we'll go straight on into the psychic phase. So we'll be back at the end of the Cabal psychic phase. Okay, so here we are at the end of the Chaos psychic phase. Basically got most of the buffs off. Again, force, warp speed on the mace guy, hammer hand, invisibility and endurance all went off. Perilled a couple times, but nothing happened. Rolled a 5 on one of the perils charts and actually did fail the leadership, but made the feel no pain. And then the guy with the axe in there perilled and rolled a 6 on the perils chart, made his leadership, so he went, he's going ham next turn. They did cast the Shroud of Deceit again targeting the Dark Reapers, who shot down the stray Farseer and Jetbike squad, who probably should have moved out of line of sight, but didn't think about it. And it killed them, so earned the Warlord point and killed that enemy unit there of Jetbikes. Cast also Enfeeble on the Wraith Knight to drop his strength and toughness down, so he's toughness 7 now, so it'll be a little more manageable. And that was it for the psychic phase. So I did attempt to cast Shriek, got it off, rolled the hit, since we're still doing ITC rules in this game. The GWFAQ is not official yet, but then did not get enough on the leadership to cause any wounds. So he is at full strength and full wounds. So that is the end of Chaos Psychic phase. So we'll get do the shooting phase, and then we'll be back at the end of the shooting phase. So be back momentarily. All right, so here we are at the end of the Chaos turn 2 shooting phase. Basically, the knight shot into the Wave Serpent, it jinked and did nothing. Then it shot into Heavy Stubbers and those Fire Dragons that were there. Did nothing. The Juggerlord charged into him. He took a wound in Overwatch, ended up wiping them out, and is up to double strength. So he's strength 10 with Rampage, but he's by himself right now. And over here, charged into the Wraith Knight. Wraith Knight didn't cause any wounds in the assault, except for the fact that he stomped 6 hounds out. The Black Mace never could make contact because the charge roll wasn't good. Did 2 wounds to the Knight, and then the Knight stomped 6 hounds out. So half the star is dead thanks to the 6 on the stomp table. There's only 1 stomp, but it was enough to kill half of the hounds. So again, stomp still kind of a counter to Death Star units. So that's a significant loss for the Cabal, but they're holding in against this Wraith Knight. Probably will kill him with the mace next turn. We'll see. So that was the end of the turn for Chaos. So we'll be back at the end of Eldar turn 2 movement. Okay, so look at the board after Eldar movement. The Dark Reapers just shifted here. The Wave Serpent moved back here. None of this moved here. The Jet Bikes just kind of scooted over. Reserves had 1 squad of Warp Spiders come in. They landed in that ruin, scattered back a little bit, made all their DTs. And then 1 squad of Jet Bikes just kind of shimmied to get within the shield. The shield did regenerate 2 back at the end of last turn. And that was it for movement. The objectives met for Maelstrom for Eldar this turn. They rolled. They did score 1 point for Maelstrom from last turn 1, which was have a unit within 12 inches of the enemy deployment zone. They got that. And this round they got destroy a unit and have a unit within 12 inches of the deployment zone again. So that is the end of the movement. No psychic phase since the Farseer is dead now. And we'll just go straight into shooting. So we'll be back at the end of the Eldar shooting phase. Look at the end of the board at the end of Eldar shooting phase turn 2. The Warp Spiders shot into the Lord, managed to knock him on out, and then they bounced over behind the void, or near the void shield, with their battle focus and their assault move. The jet bikes, combined power of the jet bikes, the D cannons here, and the snap firing wave serpent here only managed to take one single hull point off the knight thanks to the demon save. Oh, and the dark reapers. All of that only managed to take one hull point off the knight because of the demon save. So he's still standing. And that is it for shooting phase. Also the scatter bikes over there got within the void shield range, wiped out those cultists, and then just shifted over behind that wall, trying to avoid line of sight from him. So that is it for Eldar turn 2. So, for shooting phase, we'll go into assault and see if the Wraith Knight can actually hold up now that the mace is actually in combat. So be back at the end of the assault phase. Okay, so back at the end of Eldar turn 2. The Cabal did lose one hound in the assault, but they did finally manage to take the Wraith Knight down, so he's dead, and they consolidated one whole inch. So that is the end of Eldar turn 2. So we'll be back at the end of Chaos Movement phase. Okay, so here we are at the end of Chaos Movement. They scored a Maelstrom point from last turn, destroyed an enemy unit, which they did. So the Maelstrom score is now tied. Both have Warlord. So still kind of up for grabs at this point. Could be anybody's game. Cultists did not come in again. The Cabal just kind of moved over here, shifted, heading towards those bikes over there. One Sork broke off here, heading towards the Star Creepers. The Knight is just making his way over here to the corner to try and do some damage down here. Maybe take that objective, the Emperor's Will objective, from him. I'll see how that pans out. And that is the end of movement, so we'll be back at the end of the Psychic phase. Okay, so in the Chaos Psychic phase, over here, the Sorcerer here summoned, because he's the one that has the Malefic. He did Perils, rolled a 6 on the Perils chart, made his leadership check, so he went God mode, got his unit of 5 Flesh Hounds to drop on that objective there. Over here, got just about all the buffs off except for invisibility. Got Endurance, Hammer Hand, Sanctuary, Warp Speed. So all the buffs went off. Didn't do the Shroud this turn, just didn't really have the dice to do it. Did enfeeble this unit, cast Sunburst on them as well, and killed a biker. And that was it for the Psychic phase. So we'll get back at the end of, we'll just go ahead and skip shooting, and come back at the end of the turn after the assault phase. So this is the battlefield right now. Looking pretty close here. Chaos is running out of things. Not that they had a lot to start with. So we'll see how it goes at the end of Chaos turn 3. Okay, so we're back at the end of the assault phase for Chaos. The Sorcerer here killed 3 of the Dark Reapers. They made their leadership test. And he got bloated as a result, because of course he had to challenge. As a result of the challenge, he got bloated. Over here, this unit charged in, just wiped out the Altarch. The Black Mace guy took a wound because he rolled a 1 with the demon weapon. Failed to feel no pain. So he did take a wound, but still managed to wipe the squad out. They got swept, so they're gone. And then consolidated up. The Void Shield did get its third charge back, or third shield back, so it does have a shield back up. The Hounds just kind of ran 1 inch, just moving around, trying to hold on to that objective for Maelstrom. The Knight over here came in, smashed this Wave Serpent up. In the shooting phase, he did shoot over here and managed to kill one of the D-weapon batteries. Then he assaulted here after shooting Heavy Stubber into that tank, destroyed the tank. So That's where we are at the end of Chaos turn 3. So still anybody's game. Eldar still have 2 squads of warp spiders come in, which can make all the difference in the world, especially considering that squad over there the Cabal did not get invisibility off. So definitely still anybody's game at this point. Be back at the end of Eldar movement phase for turn 3. So here's a look at the board at the end of movement. Warp Spider squads came in. One tried to drop there near Objective 2 and just scattered a little bit. Another one dropped in and scattered way close to the Hounds over there. This group of Warp Spiders rolled double ones on the Warp Generator movement. So rolled randomly and the Exarch was removed as a casualty. Go figure. The Jet Bikes moved up here, trying to get a bead to finish off that Imperial Knight. And that was it for movement. No Psychic for Eldar, since the Farseer, of course, is dead. So we'll go ahead and go into shooting. So as far as Maelstrom goes, at the end of the turn, or the beginning of the turn, they did score 1 for having a unit within 12 inches, and they did destroy an enemy unit when they killed the Warlord last turn. So they got 2 Maelstrom points. So the score now is 3-1 for Maelstrom. Got a 2 and a 6 for Maelstrom on this turn, so they're looking to get secure Objective 2 to get a point there. And so that's it for movement, so we'll get back to you at the end of Eldar shooting phase, turn 3. Okay, so here we are at the end of Eldar shooting phase. The Knight still lives. The D cannon got a direct hit. Put the shield up on the side. Rolled a 4 on the D chart. So got an invuln save and made it. All of these scatter bikes shot in. Got 2 dings on him. He made 1 demon save and took 1 whole point. So he's down to 1. The Chaos Knights with that demon save is just a real... it just really helps them out. Makes them definitely worth their while. Over here, Warp Spiders shot in, no invisibility, so managed to get a lot of wounds, but even with that, the Sanctuary and the Feel No Pains only managed to kill 1 dog. Then they jumped back, or they battle focused back a little bit. So that's it for, and these Warp Spiders just battle focused up to grab Objective 2. And then, so that's it for shooting phase. So we'll be back at the end of the assault phase. See how they shift around, and if this sorcerer here can kill these last 2 Dark Reapers. So be back at the end of turn 3. Alright, so back at the end of the assault phase. This sorcerer here managed to finish off the last 2 Dark Reapers and consolidate up 4. This squad of Warp Spiders got a 12-inch jump on their jetpack move. They jumped way back. These guys only got snake eyes, so they didn't really move. The jet bikes just moved back a little bit. So that's it for the end of Eldar turn 3. Right now, they got the lead in Maelstrom. They do have Warlord, and they do have Linebreaker. And it's anybody's game right now for the primaries. So we'll see what happens at the end of Chaos turn 4. Alright, so here we are at the end of Chaos movement. Basically, the Knight just shifted around, getting close to those Dire Avengers. The Hounds and the Sorcerer over there joined up with the Hounds, and they moved up, getting ready to charge that group of Warp Spiders. Reserves came in. The Cultists just came in from the board edge, trying to leave room for the Hounds to maneuver around. They did, coming in to try and go after these Warp Spiders here. And that was it for movement. So we'll be back at the end of the Psychic phase. Okay, so look at the board here after the Psychic phase. Didn't really cast any Witchfires because the Warp Spiders would just flicker jump away and we want to charge them. So did summon in another group of Hounds from the Sorcerer over here with these Hounds. Did peril, but rolled a 6 again on the perils. Made a leadership check, and so got the 5 Hounds. They scattered and actually landed right there. Direct hit. Got all the buffs off. Sanctuary, Endurance, Invisibility, Iron Arm, Hammer Hand, all that. Enfeeble here. And that was it for the Psychic phase. So we'll go ahead and next time we come back will be at the end of the Assault phase. We'll go ahead and do just a wrap shooting up because it's just going to amount to the knight shooting his weapon. So we'll be back at the end of Chaos turn. Also of note, for Maelstrom, they did score 2 Maelstrom points from previous turn. This turn they rolled up destroy an enemy unit twice. So instead of trading it for 3, they're going to just keep the 2. So right now Maelstrom is tied. So we'll be back at the end of Chaos turn 4. So a survey of the board at the end of turn 3, or excuse me, at the end of Chaos's turn 4. Basically, Knight shot down into that group of jet bikes. They jinked, did kill one, but they made their leadership. Then he charged into these Dire Avengers, wiped out most of them between stomps and D-attacks, and they failed their morale and ran, but did not run off the table. This squad here got a 12-inch charge and managed to kill 4 of the 5 Warp Spiders. They failed their morale, and the Exarch is running away. Over there in the combat behind the Void Shield, there is 1 Warp Spider remaining. Back here, they actually made their leadership test, so they did not break and run away. And so that is the end of Chaos turn 4. So we'll be back at the end of Eldar's movement, what's left here, and get back at the end of the movement phase. So look at the board at the end of Eldar movement for turn 4. Basically, that one guy that was in combat with the dogs decided to hit and run out. And made it out, and then on his turn jumped way over here. The other one that was breaking needed insane heroism. He's continuing to run off the board. Same for the Dire Avengers that were over there with the Knight. They just ran off the table. The jet bike squad here just backed off a little bit, trying to hold off for one more turn. And that was it for movement. So not a lot left on the board for Eldar at this point. There are 7 Warp Spiders, 3 jet bikes, and a Vol's Wraith battery, which could potentially knock that last hull point off the Knight. So that is it for movement phase for Eldar, so we'll just go straight into shooting and be back at the end of the Eldar shooting phase. Okay, so here we are at the end of Chaos movement for turn 5. Basically, the Hounds moved up here. The Sorcerer broke off, heading for that Warp Spider. The Hounds moved over here, and the Sorcerer with the Mace broke off. The Cultists moved up to grab the objective, and the Cabal moved over here. And that's it for the movement phase, so we'll be back at the end of the Psychic phase. Here we are at the end of the Psychic phase, and we just went ahead and moved on into Assault. Basically, the Star got a bunch of buffs off, then gated over there. Cast Shriek on the bikes, killed a bike, and they failed their morale and ran off the board. Cast Sunburst, killed that last Warp Spider, and they just ran 4 inches to secure that objective over there. Over here, cast Warp Speed over here on the guy with the mace, and the Hounds got into combat along with the Sork there. Over here, the Sork got in combat with the Warp Spiders, and that is it. So we'll go ahead and proceed on to Assault phase, and of course the Cultists moved up, grabbed the objective, still hanging on to it. So we'll come back at the end of the turn and see what happens at the end of the turn for Chaos turn 5. And we're here at the end of turn 5, and this is going to be it for the game. All that is left for Eldar is 1 Vol's Wraith battery guy, Vol's Wraith battery platform, and that's it. The Warp Spiders were wiped out in Assault here. The Warp Speed and the Hounds killed enough. They failed their leadership check, and because the initiative is so high on the Sork with the mace, he swept them. Over here, that Sork just killed that Warp Spider outright. And the Hounds tried to get in to charge that. Even with fleet, couldn't get in. Needed a 10, got a 9. So, but that's it. That's the end of the game. Big win for the Cabal here. They scored a total of 10 points. And Eldar scored a total of 2. They got Big Game Hunter and Warlord. But Cabal wins the primary because they have both the objectives here for Emperor's Will. They won the Maelstrom, and they got Warlord and Linebreaker. So that's it for this battle report. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, Cabal is extraordinarily strong, very tough unit to beat. So now you get a chance to see them in action on the table. So thanks for tuning in, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching.